The Nets did beat the Knicks 117-112. At the time of the crime, it was 115-112. All right, full disclosure, I agreed with Jay.
Yes,
Julius
you did.
is supposed to let
Thank
go of the ball there. I'm just having fun with it because losing. I just don't like losing.
1 and
to
2
this
after
team.
the All-Star break.
It was so early in the shot, though, that he had no choice but to keep control of it.
Well,
he
Julius
lets
said-
it go, then Kyrie steals it, and he's in the fast break because he hit it so early.
The play happened in the last 5 seconds of the game. The Knicks had to make a wild comeback, and they did. They cut it to 3. They have the ball. There's a jump ball, too, which that was another whole situation where Tom Thibodeau had to challenge the call. They get the ball. Well, actually, he didn't challenge it, but the call is reversed. So Randall, who had 33, 12, and 6, like he had himself a game. They didn't have a great start, but a terrific finish. He went for 3 thinking Kyrie is going to, try to foul him before he takes the 3. That's generally what we see in the NBA. Kyrie just kind of reached in. He admitted, I was actually going to try to foul him, but instead he had a chance at the ball, thought he'd maybe try to knock it away. Julius felt the contact on the ball, and it messed up his ability to shoot it. So rather than force up a bad shot, he thought, maybe I'll get the call.
You just dropped the ball and you shielded the ball away from Kyrie. That's what you do in that situation.
I'm having fun with it. We're seeing it again. I'm having fun with it, but the truth is that's where he has to let the ball pop out of his hands to reset the play. He doesn't, the Knicks lose. Tom Thibodeau, of course, did talk about how he was not thrilled with the calls late in the game. Julius was smart and just left it alone, saying, let's just move forward. I said going into this game, look, no Derrick Rose, obviously no Kevin Durant for the Nets, so neither team really at full strength. The Nets are a juggernaut. We've talked about that as well. The Knicks are trying, and this is amazing how they flip-flopped. Mm-hmm. Like the Knicks are being like the little brother team now. They're the younger team that's just trying to scratch their way into the playoffs against the marquee team. And they did so. I said, you know what, win or lose, take a piece of this team before this is over. And did they? Is the question. Or was that just a late push against a bad defensive team that thought they had this thing won?
I see something different for the Knicks.
What do you see?
I see a team that is scrapping to make the playoffs, that has a legit chance to make the playoffs. And I see some young assets that potentially could be utilized to land that superstar. Like watching Emmanuel quickly last night, I've been watching him the whole year. I don't know if you like him. I love him.
I love him.
I love
him. I
him.
am not trading him.
All right. I'm just saying, for who? For who? Who do you want down the line? You say that
Don't
now.
Don't do that to me.
I'm just saying. No, I want Emmanuel to keep playing well.
Right. You got one right, finally.
You did.
You got one right.
It could
because
be
Obi's has been, lukewarm out there. He hasn't been able to get the minutes. I know he plays behind Randall, but right now, quickly is saving that draft class. Like, man, this guy, it could be a potential all-star.
I hear you. I think he could be a piece for the future for the Knicks. He also could be a piece for the future for another team. It's like Spencer Dinwiddie was a piece for the Nets. Like, hey, I remember it was like, we're not trading him. Well, we get James Harden. Might have to think about a trade, right? The whole thing, how that whole thing worked out. So I think, once again, young assets that continue to play well, this only helps the Knicks. And if they find a way to get to the playoffs, that's what people want to see. That's what free agents want to see. The New York Knicks knocking on the door. Yeah. You don't have to walk all the way through the door, but just the fact that you're at the party, willing to knock on the door, speaks volumes about where the Knicks are at.
It feels like, as you see, the Knicks are 7th in the East, and again, with 20 wins. Vegas, over-under was 22.5. They're at 20 wins at the 40-game mark. There's still 32 games to go. So if you took the over, you're in the money. You can already start counting. I know people say don't count your money. No, you can count it because I have a feeling they'll get at least 3 more wins.
They should beat the Sixers. Their next game up.
Well, without Embiid, they've got 2 against the Sixers in the next 3 games.
It's a scrappy team, though.
Yeah, that's gonna be. I mean,
they
should be right there though. Without Joel Embiid,
with Doc. I mean, that's the question. Look, where are the Nets? We know the Nets are the team that we'll really start to know once we get to May.
Yes,
and it's winning time. Yeah. Like then we'll know. But I also look at the standings and I see the Nets are in 2nd, the Knicks are in 7th. Now there's a 7-10 play-in, so you'd still have to deal with that bracket and make sure you lock in. But
by the way, Indiana's coming. Karis LeVert coming back. T.J. Warren potentially down the line.
So Indiana had a bad loss last night, but you're right. You got to watch these teams. The Hawks have made a bit of a push of late. They've won, I think, 4 in a row, 5 in a row. But just again, hypothetical for fun. You got the Clippers, you got the Lakers. Those 2 teams in L.A. Like that's fun. Having 2 teams, they play in the same damn building. Like that's fun. New York hasn't had this. When the Nets were good, reaching the finals in the early 2000s, the Knicks were terrible. When the Knicks were good, the Nets were terrible. Like they're never good at the same time where it becomes a true rivalry. Everybody says, oh, it's a great rivalry. It is not a rivalry because a rivalry happens when two teams are good at the same time and have those heated playoff battles that become something of legend. They have yet to have that. But if you get a 2-7, if you're the NBA, how much do you want that as a first round? Knowing that maybe later you'll get Clippers-Lakers Western Conference Finals, maybe, for later, so you get that market lit up for that. But if you can get a 2-7 Knicks-Nets, would you buy, like, would you
I would go.
be all in on that?
I'm going, especially understanding that's what I love about Julius Randle. We did an interview with him for the Boardroom a couple years ago, and he has such a major chip on his shoulder.
Yeah.
He does not care what you have to say, what the media has to say. Yeah. He wants to rip your face off. And last night was a prime example of that. If that kind of energy is in the building, when these playoffs kick in and they're in that position, I'm watching that series.
What do they need?
Get a little testy. I think they need to go out and get Zach LaVine, man.
Well, you can't do that in season. The Bulls are also trying to make the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but, I mean,
you got to make a
you're
move,
gutting
though,
your
right?
team. See, there's a lot of offseason potential, but if for something to help push them over the top, like the Nets just added Blake Griffin. Did they need him? Not really, but they got him.
Yeah.
You know, there's talk of them maybe getting Andre Drummond. Do they need him? I don't think so. You know, they need a little more grit sandpaper.
Who
right?
do you want as a Knicks? Big names on this list, and we were going through them 30 and over. So let's get it started, Zubin. Let's kick it off.
With number 6.
Number 6, I got Jimmy Butler. Look, time with the Bulls. I love the way his story has continued to ascend. Became the sidekick to Derrick Rose, became the star there with Tibbs. Went on to Minnesota with Tibbs again, didn't work out. Now down in Miami, got to the World Championship last year, but we all knew it. LeBron James and AD were way more skilled. This team had to have everything happen right in order for them to get over the hump. They're still a really good team this year. I think other teams have moved further ahead of the Miami Heat in the Eastern Conference. Jimmy Butler will be number 6 on my list.
Number 5, Mr. Triple-Double.
Russell Westbrook, I mean, one of the most talented players. Key, you know how we feel about Russ. We love his style. We love his swag. We love his intensity he brings to the game. And still, talk about 2017 MVP, playing with OKC for as long as he did, having that stint with the Houston Rockets, James Harden. But a lot of people question, can you win a world championship with Russ? Can Russ get out of his own way with being the guy, or can he be the guy, or can it be a second or third guy around a superstar to help you get there? We're still trying to figure that out watching Russell Westbrook play right now with the Washington Wizards in D.C.
Number 4, the other Melo's too young to make this list.
This is Melo. This is the real Melo. With all due respect, all the Gen Z kids out there with LaMelo, I understand, social media superstar. This is Carmelo Anthony. This is a Hall of Famer. This is a guy we saw with the Denver Nuggets, an absolute stud, one of the best scorers the game has ever seen. A guy that came to the New York Knicks, got them into the playoffs. People don't remember that kind of stuff about how talented Melo was. Now with the Portland Trailblazers, I would love to see Melo win one. I really would. I thought it would happen with the Banana Boat Boys. They never got together. It didn't culminate that way. Now he's with Portland. I want to see Dame and CJ take this team to a different level. Melo's still on that team. We'll see if it can get it. If it can get there. I don't think it will, though.
CP3 at 3 only seems right.
I mean, Chris Paul, Point God, Key. That's his nickname, Point God. New Orleans was an absolute stud. Remember those teams with the Clippers, him, Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan, coached by Doc Rivers. That chemistry there didn't ultimately pan out, just never culminated to the point you wanted it to. He's with the Phoenix Suns. The Phoenix Suns are one of the top teams in the Western Conference. But at the end of the day, Key, we still think this league is going to go through teams like Utah, the Lakers, or the Clippers before we put the Phoenix Suns truly in that conversation.
Number 2, what time is it? It's 7:36. What time is it? It's Dame time.
Dame. I mean, the best closer there is in basketball right now. The best closer. I don't know how many times you need to see it. I don't know how many times he needs to tap on the wrist to tell you it's Dame time. They have the squad. Injuries has been something that's always plagued Portland. It was only a couple of years ago they got to the Western Conference Finals. You always think they have a chance to do it. But will Dame win a world championship in Portland? No. I'm going to say no. Now, I know we can't look into a crystal ball, Key, but I want to see Dame in a bigger market with bigger superstars And that's no disrespect to C.J. McCollum because C.J. is incredible. Love the way he plays. I still know if they can surround him with the right pieces in Portland to win it.
Number one, you thought Deshaun Watson at Houston? How about this guy?
I mean, it's James Harden. It's James Harden. James Harden up. I'll go back to it. Him and CP3 up 3-1 against the Golden State Warriors. Up 3-1 against the Golden State Warriors. One of the most prolific, innovative scorers the game has ever seen. Ever seen. But I have him number one on my list because I think if there's a year for James Harden to get it, it's this year. Now, questions about Kevin Durant, what's happening with his hamstring, but him and Kyrie, along with Blake Griffin, along with Jeff Green, along with the talent they have, they are the favorites in the East.
Okay, we know how close Jimmy was last year. Jimmy Butler on Jay's list of players 30 and older who have never won a title if you're just joining us. Butler, Westbrook, Anthony, Chris Paul, Damian Lillard, James Harden, all waiting for that elusive first title. Who gets there first?
James. I just said it. That's why he's number one on my list. James Harden. I just think the Nets are positioned properly, Key, with the talent they have to get there. But you know how hard it is to win a championship, man. It's hard for a lot. Win a Super Bowl, win a world championship. Everything needs to go right. And a lot of the guys on that list, they were so close, but just wasn't able to get over the hump.
I think James Harden will win first. I think as an important piece to somebody, and I know Dame wants to stay in Portland today, but you know how this goes, man. At over a period of time, it starts to wear on you, and you start to look back. Yeah, you want to be a Portland, you love it, but then at some point you're gonna sit back and be like, man, I'm tired of this. I need to win, and then he's going to want to move. Not this year, maybe not next year, but at some point in the future, he's going to want to move to a team, much like you said, in the city, big time, whether it's an L.A. or New York or something, that gives him an opportunity to win a championship. And then CP3, you know, his salary kind of got him a little bit stuck in Phoenix. Nobody wanted to trade for that contract, even though he's still cooking at the age he's cooking at. He'll be a guy, I think, that lands on somebody's team that could potentially in the future be an important piece to them win a championship at the end of his career. So those three guys, I think, eventually will get their championship rings.
And just to add on the point about Portland, I mean, Jusuf Nurkic hurt again. He's been hurt multiple
Always
times.
hurt, yeah.
Always hurt throughout his career. Zach Collins hurt. They've had a lot of pieces that have been missing, and that's the part that makes it challenging for him. CJ's been hurt this year. They have never been at full strength. And like he said, that weight that you have to carry every single night, that can get tiring.
Last thing, we just have a couple seconds. Who would you like to? The Sentimentality Award, Melo waiting forever, Chris Paul waiting forever. Who would you like to see on those six you just mentioned get it? Not who will. Who do you like to see? Who would make your heart feel good?
I mean, for Melo, just because Melo's been around this game for so long. And, you know, a lot. Why you give me that look?
CP3 been around too.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, they both have.
Yeah,
that's
that's
CP3 and Melo.
They tossed Melo out and said he had nothing left. And the way
That's
he
what I'm saying. The way he came back,
Nobody
the way
said
he
that
was
about
out of
Chris
the league
Paul.
for a year, Keith.
Right.
But they also talk negative about CP3. You can't play with this guy. He's a problem.
I know, but see, it's interesting. Both you guys in the New York City market, the way people would criticize